Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. Happy Friday, it's April 18th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. A local mariachi group recently released a new album. It's their 25th anniversary, and yet all its members are in grades 7th through 12th.
So it was a really fun new experience being able to be in the booth and share the experience with my peers.
We'll learn more about the Delano-based group Mariachi Mestizo, but first, these news headlines. Dozens of protesters gathered outside of Congressman David Valadao's office in Bakersfield this week. They urged the Republican to oppose a push from his party to cut Medicaid's budget. KVPR's Joshua Yeager reports.
Hands off our healthcare!
Hands off our healthcare. That was the message protesters delivered outside Valadao's office. 2/3 of his district is covered by Medicaid, which provides subsidized health insurance for low-income families. Among them is Miranda Riddick.
We don't want these cuts to happen. People will die. People will get sick, and they need their medications. There's a lot on the line.
Slashing Medicaid and other safety net programs is a GOP priority. That's as President Trump aims to reduce the federal deficit. Valadao has publicly opposed meaningful cuts to the program, but some of his constituents worry that if push comes to shove, he'll toe the party line. For KVPR News, I'm Joshua Yeager in Bakersfield.
A decision from FEMA this week means those affected by Kern County's largest wildfire will not qualify for disaster relief aid. The Burrell Fire tore through 60,000 acres in the mountains east of Bakersfield last summer. It destroyed the historic town of Havilah and displaced dozens. But the officials say the blaze did not affect enough people to trigger a disaster declaration. Without federal assistance, residents previously told KVPR that recovery will be a challenge. California State University Stanislaus faculty and employees hosted a, quote, funeral on Thursday for staff recently laid off. No one actually died, but as KVPR's Rachel Livenall reports, the stunt was part of a nationwide protest for higher education.
Before we march, a moment of silence.
Dozens of students, staff, and faculty held poster board tombstones and bowed their heads in silence. That's after 18 employees were laid off in late March, and more layoffs could be coming. Barbara Olave wore a Grim Reaper suit and carried a headstone that said RIP Student-Centered Values.
They're not honoring the mission, and so we're just trying to be visible, to say we're humans.
Stan State began the year with a $14 million budget deficit. All CSU campuses are suffering as state funding and enrollment both plunge. Demonstrations took place at dozens of other campuses as well, including Fresno State and Yale. For KVPR News, I'm Rachel Livenall.
Sewage rates in Bakersfield are set to triple over the next 5 years. By 2030, residents will pay $80 a month for the utility. That's up from $20 today. A public hearing to finalize the increase is scheduled for May. If approved, the first rate hike would take effect in July. City leaders argue that the higher rate is necessary to fund a new wastewater treatment plant. Their current treatment facility has been in use since the 1950s.
One of the Valley's premier events is just around the corner. The annual KVPR Wine and Craft Beer Tasting is May 4th. It's time again to gather by the San Joaquin River to enjoy wine, beer, food, music, and friends. The Lester Estate will again host this year's event, appropriately titled Let's Raise a Glass. Complimentary round-trip bus transportation, including lunch, will be provided in Bakersfield and Visalia. Tickets are on sale now at kvpr.org/wine.
And now to our main story. Mariachi music, with its distinct instrumentation and singing style, is deeply linked to Mexican identity. This song you're hearing is titled Mazatlan, and it's being performed by the Delano-based mariachi group Mariachi Mestizo. Band members are all students in 7th grade through 12th, though you certainly can't tell that by listening. Juan Morales founded the student group 25 years ago after his career with the well-known mariachi ensemble Los Camperos in Los Angeles. Ever since then, Mariachi Mestizo has continued to grow, often with the younger siblings of members who've aged out. Among the current members is Joelynn Valencia. She's a violinist and a singer. We spoke with Juan and Joelynn about the group's new album titled 25 Aniversario, meaning 25th anniversary. Juan starts off our conversation with the group's origin story.
When I left Los Camperos in LA to come teach full-time, I started teaching in a small rural community next to Delano. It's called Rich Grove. And the program there took off, and the kids were really happy with it, and they were playing really well. So when they graduated from the middle school, which it was K through 8, they couldn't keep playing as a part of the school mariachi, so they decided to go form their own group, and that's how Mariachi Mestizo was born. And after we had the group figured out, we invited students from Bakersfield, from Earlymont, McFarland, and other towns that surround Delano. And it's been going, usually being renewed every year by the smaller siblings of the current members.
So you all just released a new album through the nonprofit record label Little Village. The album's titled 25 Aniversario, meaning 25th anniversary. Now, Joelynn, I know you sing and play violin in this album. What was the experience like for you putting this together and getting to work with your peers on this?
It was a really cool experience. Definitely something new for me since I had never recorded with the mariachi before, let alone like sang a solo piece. So it was a really fun new experience being able to be in the booth and share the experience with my peers. Like, it was really cool. I think it was really cool.
Juan, I think most Californians are all quite familiar with the sound of mariachi music. Even Jonathan and I, our producer, were reflecting on memories we had hearing it played at parties or in public spaces growing up. I'm curious, for those who might not be as familiar with mariachi music, how would you describe it, and how is it different from other genres of Spanish music?
Well, mariachi music has a very definite instrumentation that is now standard for all mariachis, which is 6 violins, 2 trumpets, a bass guitar. Many of them have a harp also, and a regular guitar, a nylon guitar, and a vihuela, which is a treble guitar. But it has developed over the years. At the beginning of the 20th century, in the early 1900s, most of the mariachis were just 4 people, usually a guitarrón, the bass guitar, a vihuela, and 2 violins. But then it started to evolve into a more complex ensemble. They started playing different genres of music too. They started playing boleros, and they started playing rancheras. So the arrangements that they played also evolved, and it became richer. It became richer and more complex as a genre. It's different from other ensembles, folk ensembles from Mexico, in the way that they have usually different instrumentations. And for example, banda music has only wind and percussion instruments, no strings. Jarocho music is only guitars and harp. It doesn't have trumpets. So there are significant differences in the instrumentation that each one of those ensembles has.
Joelynn, as I mentioned earlier, you sing in the album. I thought we would play an excerpt from that. The song is titled Puñalada Trapera. Let's give that a listen.
Me estoy muriendo como si nada, como si al verme te alegrarás de...
Wow, your voice is beautiful and very robust and different from your speaking voice. It sounds so mature. So I'm curious when you first discovered your interest and love for singing and what it's like to get to perform in that way.
So I actually started mariachi because of my sister. And I, of course, started out with violin, not singing originally, since all of our members play an instrument and can also sing. So usually that's how it starts out with the instrument. So I started playing violin because my sister was in the previous generation of this group. And so I started playing violin and began with beginner mariachis that our studio also used to have. So I rose up the ranks till I got up to Mariachi Mestizo. And that's when I started singing a bit more, I think, and taking it a bit more seriously. I always did, but I never really got the chance to express myself in the way I have with being in Mestizo, I feel.
And now you're on a recorded album, which is amazing. So
yeah.
Juan, when you were helping the students put this album together, did you have a particular song that was your favorite or stands out to you?
Yes, I think Cascabel was my favorite because it has different sections that feature all the instruments of the mariachi. The vihuela has a solo, the guitarrón has a solo, the violin section, the trumpets, and also has a wonderful singer, which is Joelynn. And it has also choruses, and so it's a very complete song that I really like.
Joelynn, if listeners are interested in seeing you all perform live, do you have any upcoming performances?
We don't have any live concerts going up soon, but we are available to do private parties and events, so they can look into that if they'd like.
Wonderful. And Juan, if people want to check out the album and listen, where can they find it?
It's available in all the platforms. It's on Amazon Music, it's on Spotify, it's in Apple Music. So just type Mariachi Mestizo and it'll show in there.
That was my conversation with Juan Morales and Joelynn Valencia of the performance group Mariachi Mestizo. They just released their new album titled 25 Aniversario. Here's another song from their album titled Dos Palomos al Volar. And that's today's episode. If you have an idea for an arts or culture story for Central Valley Daily, let us know. Email podcast@kvpr.org. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden and KVPR with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. You can always find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
This is Tanya Mosley, co-host of Fresh Air. You'll see your favorite actors, directors, and comedians on late-night TV shows or YouTube. But what you get with Fresh Air is a deep dive. Spend some quality time with people like Billie Eilish, Questlove, Ariana Grande, Stephen Colbert, and so many more. We ask questions you won't hear asked anywhere else. Listen to the Fresh Air podcast from NPR and WHYY.